That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
We are here. We are here, my dudes. I have no idea how long we've been waiting for this. We've been making videos every single day throughout the entire offseason. And now we're submitting lineups. Okay, this is going to be so fun, guys. If you are not subscribed to the channel for whatever reason, make sure you go down there, subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, and we live stream every single day as well. So if you want to come out to a live stream, ask me your question there. Just hit the bell next to the subscribe button. You can always leave your question down there in the comment section as well. And we're going to be talking about some must-start wide receivers for week 1 this NFL season. Right before we get into it, though, I do need to give y'all a massive warning. Guys, y'all know our deal on Underdog Fantasy where you deposit $10 with promo code FLOCK. You get $25 added to your account. You get our 2021 draft guide. You get our 2021 rankings. And you get our 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. That's literally like an $80, $90 value for a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy where we're going to be doing so many fun things throughout the entire season. So please make sure you take advantage of that ASAP. You can find the link in the description, and also helps this channel tremendously. But yeah, that should be it. Let's go through and let's talk about these must-start wide receivers. We'll have 5 at the beginning, then I'll have some honorable mentions at the end, so make sure you stick to the end. And let's start it off with Julio Jones. And I know 99% of people watching this video who drafted Julio Jones in the 5th, 6th round, they're going, oh my God, Mason, why are you telling us this? I mean, why are you even including him on this list? And of course, if you're playing in a 12-man format, you're starting Julio regardless of what I say right now. But I'm trying to convince the people that maybe are playing in a format where it's a 10-man league. They only have to start 2 wide receivers. They have 1 flex. And they're like, you know what, Mason, are you sure I shouldn't be playing David Montgomery in the flex? Are you sure I should put Julio Jones? And my answer to that is yes. Now, with Julio Jones, I understand we have not seen exactly how he is going to be used in Tennessee. We have not seen how this Tennessee Titans offense is going to look without Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator, and also just with Julio Jones added in, because we obviously know when you add a talent like Julio Jones to your offense, I mean, you are going to be drastically changing a lot of things. So that's why I've been saying all offseason now that I think it's kind of reckless for people to just naturally assume that Derrick Henry is going to get as many attempts that he's had the past 2 years. I mean, I would be taking the under on that every single day of the week. This team could skew a little more pass happy. And if they were ever going to do it, my dudes, if they were ever going to skew more pass happy, it's going to be against a team in the Arizona Cardinals. We know the Cardinals love to push the pace of play. We know that there could be a ton of plays run this game. And I have said this in almost every single video for the past week now. This is my game right here. This is a game that has shootout written all over it. I think people are going to be surprised with how many points are scored in the Arizona Cardinals versus Tennessee Titans game. I think what's most likely going to happen, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are going to come out. They're going to put up points early on, and that's going to cause the Tennessee Titans to be in a spot where, you know what, they can't just go out there. They can't run with Derrick Henry 25 times this game. Instead, maybe they try that at the beginning of the game and they end up getting in just a flat out shootout with the Arizona Cardinals. And we know the Cardinals, they're going to push the pace of play regardless. What we have to see is we have to see what's it going to look like on Tennessee's end. But we know if you're a team that gets behind in the game, it doesn't really matter. You can't dictate the pace of play. You're going to have to be playing as fast as the other team. You're going to have to be playing catch up. So I'm thinking all of a sudden against a pretty weak Arizona Cardinals defense that we're going to be in a situation where Ryan Tannehill in this overall passing attack, they're going to be throwing some more. And I know that's not necessarily what we're used to seeing with Tennessee. I'd say probably at the beginning of the game, that's not going to be something that we have to really think about. But I mean, what we also need to focus in on is with the Julio Jones. You got a discount on him in drafts this year for a multitude of reasons. A, obviously him going over to Tennessee, and we don't necessarily know how that situation is going to play out. But also we have to consider this is someone that, yeah, I mean, you kind of have to worry about some injuries. I will say there are very, very few players in the NFL that you can label as injury prone or as a higher risk to suffer an injury this upcoming season than another guy. But Julio Jones may be on that list. But right now, Julio Jones should be 100% healthy going into week 1. So don't be surprised. Like, I'm being 100% honest. If Julio Jones comes out and drops 30 points, and I'm not going to include A.J. Brown on this list because nobody's asking, oh, Mason, should I start A.J. Brown or David Montgomery in my flex? No, of course, you're starting A.J. Brown as your wide receiver 1. But here, Julio Jones, if you're playing in a shallower format, you're going, should I play him as my wide receiver 2? Should I play him as my flex? Should I play this running back? No, you want to go with Julio Jones, especially in a PPR format. Please trust me on that one, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this game, because I have had some people asking me on Patreon if they think we should be starting Rondale Moore. I'm sitting here saying, no, it's way too early to start Rondale Moore, even though I want as many pieces in this game as possible. I really think that the only guys that you can start with aggression, though, are obviously Hopkins, Edmonds, Kyler, Tannehill, Brown, Julio. Can't start Reynolds, can't start Firkser until we see what Firkser's routes run are going to be, with how heavily he can get targeted on those routes as well. So like the bona fide studs in these offenses, they're also going to be intriguing plays for DFS. I mean, there's just so much that's going to be exciting here. Now to go over to our next wide receiver, we're going to include T. Higgins. So these are going to be the top 2 guys that we're including. Then we'll go a little bit deeper from here. And this is also going to be a scenario where I'm looking at it and going, while yes, he's going up against Minnesota, while yes, we do have questions surrounding what we have with Joe Burrow's health. I mean, the more you think about it, the more you're looking at it going, well, I mean, T. Higgins, 100% healthy, good to go week 1. And at the same time, while Jamar Chase went from a player that personally I was screaming to avoid in fantasy drafts about a month ago when he was going in the 4th round of fantasy drafts. It was the most crazy thing I've ever seen. And then all of a sudden we have Jamar Chase falling to the 6th round. And I'm sitting here going, okay, if we get Chase in the 6th, that upside is worth it. Now, I mean, while we're drafting Chase in the 6th, I'm not sitting here going, oh, let's draft Jamar Chase in the 6th. Let's play Jamar Chase right away. He's going to have a role in this offense. He's going to be the alpha wide receiver target. No, T. Higgins is going to be the wide receiver 1 on this team. I will say how I'm expecting it to be is I'm expecting to start the year, and we're going to see T. Higgins, the wide receiver 1, Jamar Chase, the wide receiver 2. And as the year progresses, it will be more so their co-wide receiver 1s on this team. By the time we get to the end of the year, probably be like T. Higgins, wide receiver 1A, Jamar Chase, wide receiver 1B. That's when we can go through and we can go, okay, maybe T. Higgins is just a little more matchup dependent, but no, to start the season, I promise you, with the passing volume this offense should have going up against the Minnesota Vikings. I know the Vikings have gotten a reputation pretty much over the past decade for being a team that is a pretty good defensive unit. Well, they're not nearly as good now as they once were. I think this will be a spot that has some sneaky shootout potential. Now, of course, we would love to see Joe Burrow 100% healthy. And if Joe Burrow was 100% healthy, I could guarantee you that I'm moving up Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, all up our rankings. Now, with the small question mark just surrounding what does Joe Burrow actually look like in his first game back with a real NFL action, then I'm going to be a little more hesitant to start guys like Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase. Honestly, I don't necessarily want to be putting them in our lineup right away. But no, T. Higgins, it doesn't matter what Joe Burrow is going to look like. He was a top 10 receiver on a per game basis from weeks like 3 to 10 it was. I mean, maybe I have that last one off, but it's whenever you had both T. Higgins and Joe Burrow starting every single week, T. Higgins came out and just balled out. And you look at the points per game. I mean, it was ridiculous as a rookie. This is someone I'm expecting to have a very good 2021 season. I'm expecting it to start right away. So now let's go a little bit deeper. Now, this is where we're going to get some questions, and I'll say this is about for the 12-team league, and this is going to be Odell Beckham Jr. And with Odell, we're looking at it. I actually ranked him as a top 24 wide receiver this week. We're looking at him going up against Kansas City, and we have some questions here. A, exactly how healthy is Odell Beckham Jr. going into week 1? B, exactly how pass happy is this overall offense going to be? And the answer to that second question is this offense is going to run, except against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, very similar to what we were talking about with Tennessee and Julio Jones. While, yes, the Browns are probably going to want to control the game with their defense and their running game, given the fact that they have Nick Chubb, they have Kareem Hunt, they have the best offensive line in football. They literally cannot do that this week. They are not going to be able to control the game with their defense. They're not going to be able to control the game with what they're actually getting in their rushing attack, because we know when these teams get behind, they're going to be forced to throw the ball. And they're going up against, hear me out on this, quite possibly the best offense in the past, I almost said decade, but I know we would get some people down there yelling at us. The best offense in the past 5 years. They're going up against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So here with this matchup, I mean, the Chiefs are actually massive favorites. The Chiefs are currently second, according to Las Vegas, with their implied team total. What that's going to tell us is that's going to tell us that the Browns aren't going to be in a position where they can go out there and they can run. No, they're dropping back to pass. Who are they looking to throw to? They got Odell, Jarvis Landry, That's it. I mean, maybe you want to include Donovan Peoples-Jones. Maybe you want to include Rashad Higgins. No, they're going to be going to those guys quite often. I think Odell's going to be the player that you want because maybe Jarvis is a little more of the possession wide receiver where they're going to him when they're not in obvious passing down situations. I don't know. We're not going to try to spin this any other way than saying, yes, he is extremely volatile. Don't be yelling at me next week when you start Odell Beckham Jr. and he comes out with 3 receptions for 47 yards and that's it. While yes, that's of course a possibility. It's also a possibility that Odell comes out, has 8 receptions for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now let's get to our next guy, and this will be Robby Anderson in a revenge game against the New York Jets. This is a revenge game on multiple levels. You got Sam Darnold, Robby Anderson reuniting. It's a reuniting and a revenge game. I mean, you got love, you got hate, you got everything going on in this one matchup. Robby Anderson, I think we're taking advantage. Of course, guys, we're not sitting here saying to start Robby Anderson because it's a revenge game. That's going down narrative street. That's going down things that don't actually matter. Now, what does matter is projected volume, projected opportunity. Robby Anderson should have a ton of it this week because obviously you have Curtis Samuel going over to Washington. And while, yes, they do replace Curtis Samuel with Terrace Marshall, not the exact profile of a wide receiver, but they are bringing in someone else that can play in 3 wide receiver sets that can get targeted at a high rate. I mean, Terrace Marshall, not going to be someone that we have to worry about for the beginning part of the year. I'd imagine that Terrace Marshall begins to eat into Robby Anderson and DJ Moore once we get to the back half of 2021. So as it stands, I actually think that Robby Anderson and DJ Moore are both going to be in prime spots to actually have a very hot start to 2021. I want to get Robby Anderson in our starting lineup. And I mean, guys, you already know that what's going to end up happening is Robby Anderson's going to have that big week. Everybody's going to be attributing it to, oh my gosh, the revenge game is here going up against the Jets. And before I have to answer a million questions throughout this season about the revenge game, about so many different players. While yes, the revenge game is true if you're looking at statistics for the NBA, hear me out on this, because NBA players, they mainly all touch the same ball on a single possession, so they can really dictate their usage. They can dictate how many shots they're putting up. However, in the NFL, that's not the case. The NFL, the coach is dictating who's getting the ball at what time, who's the ball going to go to. Of course, the quarterback has 90% of that, but at least you have to have the plays getting called. It's not like these players when they have a quote-unquote revenge game. It's not like when Jimmy Butler has a revenge game here, all of a sudden he goes, you know what? I've only been putting 90% of my effort in. Let's go 100%. No, it's in the NBA. Yes, they can jack up more shots. Yes, they can really just hustle a little bit. But in the NFL, these players are trying 100% damn near every play. So don't be expecting Robby Anderson to have a spike week because of some quote-unquote revenge game narrative. That's not true in the NFL. The player's going to get the ball if they're just generating separation or not. It's not like Robby Anderson's like, you know what? Yeah, I got $1 million on the line, but let's just use it all out on the Jets. Let's not generate separation against another team like the Falcons that we're playing later on in the year. Let's go for the Jets. So we like Robby Anderson to start, but if someone's telling you to start Robby Anderson because of the revenge game narrative, they don't necessarily understand the important things in fantasy football. So now let's go to another wide receiver that I think is probably flying under the radar. Probably a lot of y'all currently actually have him on your benches. And I'll say, if you're playing in a 10-man format, I'm sorry, you can't start him. This is going to be for a 12-man league. Laviska Shenault. Now, with Laviska Shenault going up against the Houston Texans, I think this is going to be an extremely intriguing spot, and that we are going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars as favorites for one of the, I want to say, only games in 2021. I mean, yes, the Houston Texans are going to be the worst team in the NFL. And what I really like about starting Laviska Shenault here is talk about wide receivers starting a little slow in their offenses. I mean, we got guys that we just talked about, Terrace Marshall, Jamar Chase, some rookies. Who else may start a little slow in their offense? How about someone that's been dealing with a finger injury that hasn't been at training camp, that hasn't been at the preseason? How about DJ Chark? I'd imagine DJ Chark is most likely going to start a little slower for this 2021 season. While I still really like DJ Chark for the middle part of the year and the end of the 2021 season, I actually think that it's going to take a little bit of time for Trevor Lawrence, Chark to get on the same page. I mean, Urban Meyer may not necessarily even know exactly how he plans on using DJ Chark in this offense. However, who's been there the entire time? It's been Laviska Shenault. And also, we have to look at the fact that Travis Etienne leaving is just going to open up a massive hole for a player to be getting targeted in terms of the short area of the football field. I mean, we know that Marvin Jones, DJ Chark, they're guys running deep downfield. Laviska Shenault's going to be the guy that's getting utilized a little more closer to the line of scrimmage, someone picking up yards after the catch. I mean, Travis Etienne going down, bump up the routes run for Laviska Shenault. Bump up the targets that he is going to be getting. And also, I mean, maybe you just bump it up a little bit more because DJ Chark not ready going up against a bad defense. I mean, Laviska Shenault looks like he should smash this week for a multitude of different reasons. If you're playing him in a 12-man league, I'd be very interested in putting him in the flex spot. Now, let's throw out some honorable mentions here. The first guy, this video is going to come out most likely either, let's say right before the Thursday night game or Friday morning. I'd imagine that's when this comes out, but the game hasn't happened yet. So I'm putting myself out on a limb here. Antonio Brown. So hopefully this video comes out by the time y'all still can make the decision to start Antonio Brown. If not, y'all can sit here and laugh at me with how bad this call may be. But, I mean, right now you're looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the #1 team, according to Vegas, with their implied team total. And we know that the Dallas Cowboys, this is going to be an offense that can push the pace of play. They can jack up a ton of points based on the fact they have Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott should be healthy. It's going to be a spot where we'd imagine that the Dak Prescott-led Dallas Cowboys end up throwing the ball at a heavy rate with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup, who all should be good to go for week 1 in that game. So yeah, I'm imagining right now you already have Mike Evans. You already have Chris Godwin in your starting lineup. I actually have both of them ranked as top 10 receivers this week. But Antonio Brown is also someone, if you're playing in a 12-man format, throw him in your flex. I know he's the wide receiver 3 on his team. I know it's week 1. You're not having to go that deep. But the matchup does not get better. The matchup does not get better for a receiver that should be on a pass-heavy offense going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, our last guy is going to be someone very hard. This is more so going to be for a league that has multiple flex spots that you have to start 3 wide receivers, but I at least wanted to talk about him slightly. Michael Pittman. Now with the Michael Pittman, yes, you have the T.Y. Hilton injury, and at the same time, I mean, Paris Campbell hasn't been 100%. So right now, Michael Pittman, I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't necessarily like drafting him just a month ago. I thought that he was being overdrafted, but so many things have broken in the right direction for Michael Pittman to most likely look like a really good wide receiver for week 1. I mean, Carson Wentz all of a sudden looks like he's going to play. I mean, you have the Seattle Seahawks defense not necessarily being exactly what it once was to go along with all of this. I mean, guys, there are really going to be very few receivers healthy in Indianapolis. Yes, Paris Campbell's going to play this Sunday, but we still don't know exactly what his health looks like to go along with this. I mean, with a Michael Pittman, he's just going to be seeing an expanded target share without T.Y. Hilton. So yeah, Michael Pittman going to be in play for us this week, but I don't want to say only if you're desperate, but don't just be jamming him. He's not a must start. He's an honorable mention. Let's throw him in the honorable mention. And yeah, that's all I got for you, my dudes. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment asking any question you may have, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, support the show by using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. You're not going to have that long to do this deal. I think there's only about a week or 2 left in it. Deposit $10 with promo code FLOCK. Find the link in the description. Get $25 added to your account. We're going to be doing so many fun things in the live stream on Underdog Fantasy. Get our rankings, get our draft guide, get everything you could ever want. And have a great day, my dudes. Thank you to everybody supporting the show on Patreon. We got some new members in MCGC, Brian, Matthew, Craig, Ian, Woody, Colt, Marcus, Jack, and Nicholas. Thank you, my dudes.